Hello, my name is Arthur, and in this video I'm going to address the tab key. So I want to make tabs as spaces and go one step further to make it actually convert existing tabs into spaces. So that would be a little bit further than this software goes. This software will leave tabs alone that are in the document, but will render spaces when you press the tab key, and it's an option in the software. So it's a fairly common option. So we'll start off by taking control of the tab key and making it spaces as tabs. So yeah, those would be things that are kind of common settings. In the last video I mentioned that this function was probably getting called twice because it remained here, and that did turn out to be the case, so I'm just going to take that out. So in order to get control of the keyboard presses, we need to change where the key signal is being emitted from. So I'm going to move these two functions. These are the two functions that are called on a key press or on a key release signal. So we're going to cut these out from here, and we're going to move them to just above add tab. So I'll put them into here, and in the H file I'll do the same thing. So there's add tab. We'll just take the press and release, cut those out of there, and move those also. So that looks good. Where we have the signal being emitted from was the notebook, and we want to change that to the text view. So I'm going to add it in when we create tabs, so that each text view has that, rather than having it on the broader notebook that's holding the pages. So we'll just take the press and release event. We'll cut them out of here, and we'll put them up with where we make the tab. Then we'll change it from notebook to the text view. In here, and the signal call remains the same, like the G callback is still key release and key press. And there's no real difference for key release, but key press, its nature has now changed, and it has something to do with putting the signal onto something that relates to text. So we'll just save this, and we'll compile and run and see what the difference is now. So everything opens up all the same, it's all working until I press on the keyboard and nothing happens. So now we're not able to type anymore. This signal is no longer a void return value. It's now a G Boolean. So we'll change that here, and we'll change that in the H file, so that it doesn't complain about two different types of return values. Then down here, after the switch statement, we'll return false. So we'll save those changes and compile and run. That way we can see what goes on. So now it has a return value of false, and we're able to type again. If I was to change this to true, the keyboard would stop working again. So that more or less, it gives us the ability to take control of the tab key. So now we can go case, GTK GUI Tab. Now, to do what we want to do with that, we're going to need the page number. So we'll call the current tab function to find out which tab is open, the page number for the open tab. And then we'll need an integer. We'll call it tab size. We'll give it a value of 3, but if or when I put in the ability to make that an option, it would equal whatever variable is flipped by choosing the option. So I'm going to just start it off at 3 and use that variable. If I put in something like an information bar like this with I'm not sure if this is what kind of button that is. Okay, so we have that in. Now what we'll do is we'll use a while statement right here. While tab size. And outside of this statement, we'll return true. So yeah, the way I view true and false is true is returning saying it was handled by the user, and false is returning saying it was not handled by the user, so do the default action. So what we're going to do here is we're going to GTK text buffer insert at cursor. Our text buffer, comma, what we want to insert, which will be a space, and then a length, which we just put -1 and it figures out the length itself. Then we'll take tab size and decrease its value by 1 for each loop. So it'll go around the loop for whatever this number is set to, and insert spaces rather than do what a tab key usually does, then returns true. So let's give that a run and see what happens. So when we get that going, I'll press tab and we get 1, 2, 3 spaces instead of tabs. So that gets that working. That's spaces as tabs or tabs as spaces. Now I want to make a function that will open a document and make it into tabs. So let's open the document here. It's just a little test file. So we'll bring up the size of that so we can see it in here. And we'll actually open it up here as well. So by default, we have an 8-space tab. If we were to look, there's a pretty big difference between the way this presents and the way this presents. Now, this software is honoring the tabs, like it's leaving them in place, but I want to have the option to convert them, because some people are of a thinking that mixing tabs and spaces is not really a thing to do in script. So that's a debatable. Some people come in on one camp, some people come in on another camp. Me coming from doing a fair amount with Godot, it seems to get pretty fussed about mixing tabs and spaces. So I'm going to go to a spaces only and convert these tabs into spaces. Why people would think that way should be kind of obvious in a way, because when we do a space, it's a fixed size, and that size changes when we change the size of the text. But the tab, it's not a fixed size. This can present exactly the same as this, or it can present like this. It's a single character that is interpreted by the software and will render different size tabs, which is, I don't think is really what I'm looking for. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to write a function, and it can be considered an optional function. It's just having the ability to do it that's the thing. So we'll make a function that can convert the tabs into spaces and do it from when a document is opened and when something is pasted into a document. So let's see. We'll put that right here, and we'll call it void tabs to spaces. We'll put these in here, and the trouble I had before experimenting, it didn't respond good to using the global itters for some reason. Probably some kind of conflict. Maybe the cursor is moving or something. I'm not really sure why, but it wasn't able to find all of the results. So we'll need a current tab. We'll need an integer for the tab size. We'll call it 3 again, but it would be initialized to the size chosen by option if we get around to doing options like that. Let's see, what else will we need? A G Boolean. We'll call it check1 like we've been calling it in all of the syntax functions. Then we need to initialize the iter. So our buffer and our iter. So we'll initialize the iter called left. Whoops, there we go. So that should be it. So this will run when, well, that's not it, but that's it to get us ready for writing the actual sequence. So this will run on highlight page. So highlight page, it only runs when we open a document. So it's the full document search. So when we open a document, one of the first things it will do is convert the tabs into spaces. And again, this can be an option. It's just having the ability to do that. The other place we'd want to do it is when we paste in. So we'll put that into here. And now we can finish writing this. So we'd start off with a while loop. And I have an odd space there. So while 1. And we'd begin with a very standard search. That we've used many times in this effort. Except we want to change the iters. So we'll use left, left, and right. And we'll change this to null. And it will just always be a full document search. Yeah, if this is like a setting rather than what it is right now, it's just always going to do this because we don't have a menu option to make it a setting yet. So when it comes down to it, even in a cut and paste situation, it's going to do a full page search. But by the time it's at a full page search, we have control of the tab key, so it's only going to render spaces. There are no tabs there. The entire document was converted when it was opened, so the only place it would find a positive result anyways would be inside of the paste. So there's not a lot of need to change it to have different initialization scopes because it's not the same as the other searches that are going to get results, because this search is just not going to find any results. So we'll do the typical if not check 1. We'll break out of the loop and it's done. Then we need to do something with the first result, so that would be delete it. So we'll call GTK text buffer delete. Our text buffer. And the range we want to delete is left and right. And left iter. And right iter. So when the delete is called, the buffer is changed, but the function will reinitialize left and right at the deletion point. So they'll both be sitting at the deletion point. From there, we would go into a while loop that's similar to the other one. So while tab size. That way, if we're initializing this by a variable that's flipped by an option, it's going to do it the right amount of times in both places. So when we press the tab key or when we load a document or paste a document piece that has tabs in it potentially. So here we will GTK text buffer insert our buffer. The iter we're going to insert at. I think that's the order. It'll give us an error here if that's not the right order, but I think it should be the iter. Then what we want to insert is a space, Then the length is -1. Then we'll decrease tab size. So tab size minus. And that's all that will happen in the loop. When we exit the loop, it will reinitialize the tab size. Otherwise, it would only work for the first result. So we'll reinitialize the tab size to 3, and that's it. That should change all the tabs in the test document into spaces. So let's close our test document, recompile, and whoa, that looks like a big list of mistakes. Let's see what we have here. I'm not sure what it's complaining about here. Oh, I have a comma. That was a subtle little mistake there. Too many arguments for get started or oh, here we are. Oh, that's silly. This is a dumb mistake. I forgot to change what we're searching for into a tab. So I had the search value for keyword. So yeah, it's looking for the keyword still. Just a silly mistake there. So neither word nor loop even exists in this function. Okay. Let's see what that gets us when we open up our test document. Let's see, tab test. So that looks like it's worked. 1, 2, 3. We had 1 tab. This should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 1, 2, 3. And 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have this open here as well, so we can copy this. We'll paste it in. These are the only 2 ways that a tab can get into the document, and those tabs are now spaces. So that would complete the ability to, well, either leave it this way because I'm perfectly content with tabs with spaces for tabs or tabs as spaces, and having the software change tabs into spaces and how many spaces I choose. So that's completely satisfactory to me. What I'd be looking to do in the next video would be to get us indent aware. So when we press enter, it ends up with the same indentation as the line that it was just on. So anytime we press enter on these, it would end up at different places. So that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and yeah, that's what to look forward to in the next video. So until then, take care.